The Trek Geeks Podcast Network is proud to have Fansets as its presenting sponsor. Fansets is the place for amazing pin collectibles with over 400 officially licensed Star Trek pins and new releases every month. Stay tuned for a special discount code good on your next order at fansets.com just for Trek Geeks listeners. Fansets. Our pins have character.
This episode is also sponsored by Science Division, the makers of the galaxy's first interactive tribble that you can control with your very own smartphone. See their limited edition giant silver tribble available for pre-order today at sciencediv.com. Science Division. Trouble's never been this fun.
Hi, this is John Billingsley, Dr. Phil Phlox from Star Trek Enterprise. Now, I'm reading something that was written for me, and I think they could have done better. So this is not me, this is them. My prescription for you is a healthy dose of the Trek Geeks podcast starring Dan Davidson and Bill He Could Have Done Better Smith. It truly is the best medicine. Oh, come on, boys. And here's how they close it. Doctor's orders. Shame, tisk, tisk.
For the record, that was Dan Davidson that wrote that.
That was me.
Wow. Well,
that's even better because now it's forever blamed on Bill.
That's forever blamed on Bill.
Thank you, Mr. Bakula.
There you go. Ooh, wow. All right. All right.
From the Podfleet Command Travel Office, destination Viva Las Vegas, baby. It's the biggest little show this side of the Alpha Quadrant, the flagship of the Trek Geeks Podcast Network. Greetings to you, one and all, Trekkies, Trekkers, and Trek fans alike, maybe even Trek Geeks, and welcome to the Trek Geeks Podcast from fabulous Las Vegas, Nevada. I'm your co-host, Bill Smith. We're so excited to be here in Vegas. We're so excited to have you listening, and we're so excited to have our topic today. And by we, I do mean my co-host and I. Every year that we've been to Vegas lately, he's decided to do more and more elaborate cosplay. And I can only hope that at some point he goes as an actual human being. He is the rather alien-like Dan Davidson. And Dan, EO11, baby.
EO11, baby. It's right. I'm so excited. I'm so excited. That's all I can say.
And you just can't hide it?
Yeah, very good. We finally made it. We finally made it here. It's so exciting. It's Vegas, baby. Just, I got to say, coming in on Final Approach always gets me when we're coming into Vegas because of how everything looks, the mountains and the lake that's almost empty, and the lights, of course, seeing the strip as you land, and it always looks so much closer than it is. The airport is right next to all those buildings, yet it still takes an hour to get to the hotel. But I'm okay with that because we're here and it's awesome.
Long hauling does not happen in Vegas, Dan.
Okay, that sounds good to me.
I just want to throw that out there. But we are here today for our annual Vegas trip theme show. And we've picked a good one today, but we have to qualify this.
Yes, we do. Absolutely, we do. We are finally going to discuss TNG's Season 2 episode, The Royale. And we have to preface this by saying, oh, God, how many decades ago did we actually do See It or Skip It for Season 2 of TNG? It seems like it was forever ago. We both gave this one a very hearty and robust skip it. But we decided that we were going to watch it and talk about it for this episode. And I got to say, I might have a feeling that those votes might change. I'm just going to say that. Mea culpa, whatever you say, mea culpa.
Mea maxima culpa.
There you go.
Yeah. That was actually Trek Geeks number 93, almost goodness. 200 episodes ago.
Wow.
Our friend Rick Tatro was the guest geek that particular episode, and he guided us through that season. And, well, we have a lot to talk about coming up in a bit, don't
Yeah, we certainly do. And it's, you know what? I don't mind eating crow. And I'm going to be doing some right now because, I enjoyed it.
Yeah, same here. But I mean, you and I have been waiting to talk about this episode now for literally 2 years. Before we went to the last Vegas 3 years ago, I said, next year we're doing the Royale.
Mm-hmm.
And you said, oh, yeah, let's do that episode. And then COVID happened.
Boom.
And then last year we had to cancel our trip.
Boom.
And so we've been saving this particular episode on the board in our prep for 2 straight years. And I'm just excited we finally get to do it.
I am too. And I'll tell you what, there's so many good things to talk about with this episode. And I will say this, we did it last week with Blood Oath, and it's what we do because it's fun to do. We love the episodes, but we always kind of nitpick about stuff just because it's fun. So when the nitpicking comes out, at least on my side, please be rest assured, I like the episode. It was fun. It had great moments, and making fun of certain things in an episode is what makes talking about it so much fun for me.
Much like when I make fun of you.
Right. What?
Well, Dan, we get to do this in person this week, but for everybody listening, we want to take a moment, as we always do, to thank our friends at Fansets for being the presenting sponsor of the Trek Geeks Podcast Network.
Yeah, it's always one of my favorite parts of the show, man. And I mean, why not? Fansets puts out simply awesome stuff. So if you're here at the 56-year Mission Convention in Las Vegas, be sure to stop by their booth in the vendor's room for some awesome new releases, such as the Women of Trek Special Vegas edition of Michael Burnham, the USS Defiant, and the USS Voyager XL Master Ships. 2 new Master Ships are out. The Doug Jones Captain Saru pin, the Captain Saru Micro Crew pin, the 2022 Vegas Poker Chip featuring everyone's favorite Beckett Mariner. And, dude, there are a whole bunch of Deltas all available in pin and magnetic form, such as 3 new Strange New Worlds Deltas: Command, Operation, and Sciences. The Confederation Delta, sorry, Bill, no throat slashing is allowed with this pin.
Please.
Sorry. The Discovery Season 1 Delta, as well as the mini Delta version of Discovery Season 1. And the Section 31 Delta is going to be available too. Now, please keep in mind, not all of these show releases are available yet at fansets.com, but be sure to check out the site after the convention so you can still get yours if you're not attending the con here with us. Also, for you folks in Vegas, be sure to pick up your special Strange New Worlds Memorial Ship pin collection, as there's only going to be 100 of them for sale at the con. And I got one more thing. I got a lot of things here this week, Bill. As a special bonus for you Vegas goers, although it's not going to be for sale here at the convention, you're going to be able to get a sneak peek at the Delta that everyone's been wanting for 25 years. Yeah, it's finally here. The TNG Delta is coming to you from Fansets, and you can see it in all its glory at their booth in the vendor's room.
Wow, that is a huge amount of great new stuff. And I can already see that my money will go to Lou and John in Vegas this year. So, yeah, guys, thanks for that. For everyone else, you know what I'm going to say. Head on over to fansets.com, get a whole bunch of pins and accessories, put them in your cart, and at checkout, be sure to enter the special discount code word TrekGeeks for 10% off your entire order. That's TrekGeeks in all capital letters with no spaces. And of course, don't forget, when you spend more than $30, you will automatically get free shipping in the U.S.
Fansets. Our pins have character, and we thank our friends at Fansets for being the presenting sponsor of the Trek Geeks Podcast Network.
So, Dan, way back in Trek Geeks number 93, which I know it seems weird to say that because it was 5 years ago, we did the See It or Skip It for Star Trek The Next Generation Season 2. Mm-hmm. This was an episode that dropped in February of 2017. And, of course, you know, we went through like we always do, and we gave our ratings for See It or Skip It. Mm-hmm. And, well, as one might guess, we made a particular judgment on the episode we're going to talk about today, TNG's the Royale.
Yes.
I'm going to play the actual clip here in a minute. But if you recall, we weren't really kind to this episode.
Not at all. I was harsh. I think harsh is a good way to describe it. At the time that we did this, I was not a fan of this episode. I wasn't really a big fan of a lot in season 2, if I remember correctly. But if I'm looking back at when we did this recording so many millennia ago, this might have been one of the ones that I disliked the most of the season at that time.
I think so. And I think I'm not far behind you. So, we're going to talk about it on the other side of this clip, but this is a clip from episode 93. Our guest geek this episode, leading us through the theater skip, it is our friend Rick Tatro. But here are Dan's and my votes for the Royale.
Episode 12, The Royale. Riker, Worf, and Data investigate a structure on the surface of an icy gas giant which appears to be a hotel from 20th century Earth. Bill.
When I watch this episode, I wish I were the astronaut guy. Just put me out of my misery. This episode is painful. Ugh was the first word I wrote in thinking about this episode. It seems like another idea where they could have possibly tried to use it in the original series, but it is putrid. And skip this, please. I'm begging you, skip it.
You think it's the worst of worse than Okona, whatever the hell his name is?
For me, yeah, I think
really.
It is.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I definitely gave it a skip it as well. I don't think it's the worst episode of the season, but it's definitely the second. It's an awful episode. To me, this episode reminds me of some of the season 3 TOS episodes where they were just out of money, so they had a cheap ass set, and the cheap ass set here was that revolving door with nothing else around it. I don't like it. I didn't like the story, and I have to agree, the astronaut guy had a better fate than people that have to sit there and watch it.
Well, there you have it. Some words were said.
Allegedly. Well, yeah, they were said all right.
They were said.
Yep.
We have the proof.
Yep.
It's safe to say that our view of this episode has really changed. What was it that changed it for you?
I think the fact that I think the fact that I'm older and have an appreciation for what Star Trek episodes with the Star Trek in air quotes are all about means more to me now than it did maybe back then. I mean, even though, it was only, a few years ago, but life events, COVID, all kinds of things happen that make you have a better appreciation for stuff. And I tend to look at episodes that I may not have liked before with a more open eye or open mind when I'm rewatching them again. And I think that's definitely what's happened here.
Sure. I can appreciate that. As I rewatch this, I think of, Deep Space Nine's Move Along Home. And the reason why I like that one is because it reminds me of a season 3 episode of the original series. Mm-hmm. And I kind of feel the same way about this one. Although this one certainly would have had a bigger budget than anything in season 3 at TOS. The kind of whole, minimalist feeling at the beginning where they, the revolving door is there. And then this sort of puzzle that they have to extricate themselves from really, to me, is kind of straight out of TOS. And I think that's why I've grown to have an appreciation for it.
Yeah, it's perfect that you say that, man. The season 3 TOS, because everybody knows that at the season 3 TOS had money cut like crazy. They had a bare bones budget, and Cliff Bowles says in this that there were budgetary problems in doing this episode. They didn't have a lot of money, which is why the revolving door was just that. It was a revolving door sitting in a black room. I mean, they had to make a lot of budgetary choices in how they were going to do this episode with different angles, with how they built the Las Vegas casino set and everything like that. And it kind of makes you think about season 3 of TOS a little bit when you read that they had these budgetary problems with this episode.
Which is amazing to me, because if you look at that set of the casino,
it's pretty good.
It's a beautiful set.
Yeah.
I look at that and it's better than some of the other sets that TNG had, in the first few seasons, because there's a lot of detail. There's a lot of, sort of antique, set dressing in this. Mm-hmm. It's all interactive. There's a whole bunch of extras.
Yeah.
This had to be an expensive episode.
It's funny. The casino and the hotel lobby, this is going to be strange for some people. It reminds me of the Tower of Terror waiting room when you're going to go on the ride in Disney, where they got the hotel and the desk, even though there's cobwebs and there's nobody there, but it just had that feel for me for it. And I thought they did a great job. And he talks about using different angles to make things look better. And that's the mind of a great director, to be able to do that, working with what you may have that's little to make it look like a lot more. And he did a good job with this one.
Yeah, it really did. Although it's interesting that this is the episode that led to Tracy Torme sort of leaving the writing staff of Star Trek The Next Generation because of rewrites done by Maurice Hurley. Sort of the guy who was responsible for Gates McFadden getting fired from the show at the end of season 1. It's kind of interesting that that's the case, and that he even, wanted to use a pseudonym because he didn't want his name anywhere near this episode.
Yeah.
And in hindsight, that's amazing to me because I really think it's a great piece of science fiction.
It really is, and it was to the point where even cast members were coming up to him saying, "This story was a great story. What's happened?" So yeah, and eventually he was only involved in one other episode of TNG, I believe, and that was Manhunt. And then he just finally left as a result of this. So, and it's amazing when we look at the behind the scenes stuff with a lot of these stories that we see on screen. Sometimes they have nothing in comparison with the original story that was written by the person who wrote it. And that's really a surprise to me.
Yeah, I would have really been interested to read the original draft of his script, because I think it would have been really interesting, especially with some of the elements that were removed. But here we are.
We are.
It's some of the history items on this, and Memory Alpha, are really interesting when you look at the chaos behind the scenes of this particular episode. Plus, it would have been nice to have more Dr. Pulaski here, but that's just me.
Yeah, that's just you.
Wait a second. Why are you such a Pulaski hater?
She just, I mean, I think her character was supposed to be kind of cranky and prickly, and I just was one that I never really got the feels for. I mean, I like to do that because I know I like to tease you about it. But in all honesty, she never was a real favorite character of mine. But I will say the one scene that she's in this one isn't bad. It's not too bad. Maybe because it's only one scene and that makes me happy. I'm not sure.
Your face is crankly and prickly.
Thank you. I think.
You're welcome. Yeah. You're welcome. I'm amazed we've gotten this far in the recording so far, and you have not once mentioned that the assistant manager of the hotel is Bernard from Lost.
Well, maybe you should have waited a little while, and I would have.
I mean, usually you're jumping to mention something from Lost, like as soon as we start recording.
I know. I'm sorry. But one of the things I was going to say, one of the things that I love about this episode is the humor. There's a lot of subtle humor in this episode, which really works. And one of the ones that I like the most involves the manager of the hotel. And that's when they're talking about, what planet is this? And he goes, Earth. What planet do you call it? And Worf's, Theta 8. And the guy just goes, how charming. I just thought that was it was a great little quick one-liner of humor, and it made me chuckle. But yes, it's amazing how young he is in this.
Yeah, it's about 15 years later, he winds up an Angel for a bunch of episodes. It's sort of the guy who runs Wolfram and Hart. And to see him in this, he looks like he just barely got out of, I don't want to say college because he's still old.
Yeah.
But by the time he gets to Lost, he's old as hell.
Bernard, he's great. Oh, Bernard.
You just love Lost.
I do.
I mean, come on.
So good. Maybe I'll do a rewatch of that next.
Why?
But anyway, back to the Royale. Humor is great. One of the other things that I really like about this episode is Data. He is data in this, and he's so android-like at the beginning and talking about things, but then when he fixes those dice, he knows that the dice are weighted wrong. So Riker's like, "Can you fix them?" Not like, "Can you weight them to our advantage?" He just says, "Can you fix them?" Which I thought was pretty good. So Data's like, "Sure," squeezes them, and then he just has the smirk. He's like, rolling the dice. Daddy needs a new pair of shoes, or baby needs a new pair of shoes.
Whatever. Anything he says is just the perfect punctuation point to that particular moment, just because of the way Brent Spiner portrays it. It's just, it's fantastic.
And he looks good in a cowboy hat too.
That we'll get to more of that scene a little later, but I have a question for you,
Okay.
sort of a little thought exercise. So at the beginning of the episode, the Enterprise beams aboard a piece of debris
Mm-hmm.
that has the NASA, worm logo,
Yes.
as they like to call
Yes, it
it,
does.
and a United States flag with 52 stars.
Yes.
What 2 states do you think were added?
I'm thinking Puerto Rico's one of them.
Okay.
And I have no idea for the second one. I don't know. Iceland? Wasn't it
Dan,
for
I don't know
sale
if you
once?
know
Somebody was
this.
going to buy it. I don't know. Some stupid thing. Yeah.
I don't know if you know this, but they're their own country.
Yeah. Well,
I'm going to go with Puerto Rico because that's long overdue.
maybe Washington, D.C.
I say the District of Columbia.
There you go.
I think.
Okay. And it makes sense. It is interesting, though, also that flag is a little bit different, not only for the 2 stars for 52 states, but the way that flag is put together is a little different than what we're used to in modern times.
Your face is a little different
Yes.
than what we're used to. In modern
Normally,
times.
the stars sit on a white stripe on our present day flag. But in this flag that's depicted on that piece of metal that's beamed aboard, it's sitting on a red stripe. Bet you didn't know that. I didn't know it
I'd
either
like a
until I
red
read
stripe.
it.
I could go for a red stripe right about now.
Yeah, that's good stuff. Let's go get one at the bar
Right
right
beer.
down the street.
Okay.
Or in the, down
Although,
the casino.
if
I don't know.
If we're coming all the way to Vegas, why have a red stripe?
How about a Dos Equis?
Why bother? I mean,
No, I'm just kidding. I don't drink Dos Equis.
you don't drink beer.
I don't really.
Really?
Corona, that's about it.
And you drink crappy beer at that. So, one of the things that I love the most about this is that we don't know a lot about the aliens that inhabit this
Nothing.
planet.
Yeah.
We know nothing about them. And yet they tried to create as best they could an environment for this astronaut to live out the rest of his life.
Based on a book.
Based on a book. If you think about this, there are qualities of compassion there. At least I have to believe there are. I don't believe they tried to imprison him.
No.
But I can believe that it felt that way.
Oh yeah, as he says, and he even says that he thinks that it was out of a sense of guilt that that they decided to create this world that they thought was what he wanted and what he really lived in real life. But I do find it extremely interesting that you never know anything about this race. You never see them. You never know what they're called. They're pretty powerful to be able to do what they did, but we never hear about them ever again, as far as we know, ever in Star Trek, at least to this point.
No, and not at all. This is a construct that, is kind of used in 2001: A Space Odyssey, where this sort of environment is created from, belongings,
Right.
or I guess artifacts is the right word. And then it kind of happens in the Voyager episode Displaced in a way. But this examination of it, I think, is fascinating. And I just didn't respect this at the time because I was like, oh, they find an astronaut. How stupid, back in 1988.
Yeah.
Or 89 or whenever this was on.
Yeah.
Looking back at that now, I'm like, wow, with 53-year-old eyes, it's like the amount of, they could have just left this astronaut to die.
Exactly. Or they could, yeah. I mean, all the other crew died from these aliens. If maybe they could have done something to end his life without him realizing that they were doing it. I don't know. But I found it incredible that he was alone, literally alone, except for these fake people, for almost 40 years before he died, according to the diary.
Yeah.
That's nuts.
Can you imagine? It's got to feel like Groundhog Day.
Yeah.
Can you imagine going through the plot of this same novel for 40 years?
Yeah. And,
I can't.
And do you think, that's a good question though, dude, do you think that for the 40 years, it was just the same story over and over again? Or did it just continue for 40 years and he never even got to the end of the book while he was alive?
I'm guessing he never got to the end because the investors never came to purchase the building, or because if they had the simulation, it would be over.
Yeah. It's just, that's a long time. I mean, I can't even imagine it.
It's entirely possible he could have lived different experiences each of those days. But would the aliens have been smart enough to have that happen in the scope of this novel? Because maybe all they know is what they were given.
It kind of makes me think of The Cage a little bit. Do you think that
does.
these aliens were able to change things around so that when things were going on, it was like a different experience for him every time?
Maybe,
but we'll never know because we never hear about these creatures or these aliens again, ever.
We know that they're powerful enough to create a breathable atmosphere on a planet that has a temperature below absolute zero, with a methane atmosphere
Something
or whatever
like that.
it was.
Yeah, it looked pretty cool above their
frozen
heads.
methane.
Yeah.
That was a really neat effect too for 1988. Let me tell you,
it was. And I guess Dr. Pulaski said that it would take like 12 seconds for them to like be completely overtaken when they sliced a hole with the phasers if they were going to try to beam them out. I was like, okay, I'm going to give 12 seconds of my life to Chief O'Brien's ability to beam quickly and Dr. Pulaski's ability to save lives. Yeah, we'll stay here for a few months to see if we can figure it out.
Right?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, maybe they could just, beam them up in some styrolite. Oh, that didn't work out so well.
That's not a good idea.
Yeah, I think a lot of my appreciation from this comes from thinking about the aliens that created this environment. As the story goes, it's well acted. The script is okay, let's be honest, but the visuals I really think are what brings this home for me. I don't feel like I'm on some cheesy planet set, like we are in season 1 of Next Gen or whatever. It's obviously not a location shoot, but this is a set that is interesting to look at and has a lot of detail. And I think that along with the aliens makes this really the kind of thing I want to watch.
One of the things that I really appreciate now as I'm older watching it and having talked about different shows so much here on the podcast is the outdoor set, if you want to call it a set, of just the revolving door. Back when we did See It or Skip It, I said it was cheap. I said it was dumbass production because it just had a revolving door and that was it. Now that I'm thinking about it more, it really has a Spectre of the Gun vibe to it, where it's just pieces of what they were able to pull either out of the book or out of the crew's mind. And it's something that I can really appreciate. And it's kind of cool that when they're inside the casino and they try to go out, they just go in a circle and come back to the inn. And they're all like surprised. I like that effect without showing them not being outside. I don't know if the way I'm saying it makes sense or not, but I thought that was kind of cool how they did it twice. And each time they just came back inside. And of course, Riker's standing there with his barrel chest, like, what's going on?
I used to dog on that particular aspect of the episode of the revolving door and the black room because of the empath. In the original series, which is a notoriously, low budget episode where it's almost like they give up trying.
Exactly.
This is like, all right, let's just do it like a minimalist play. Let's just do it. And I kind of equated that the same way in my own mind. But this episode, I think, tells a much better story.
I think it really does. And the lack of visuals actually works here now that I'm watching it again. Whereas with the empath, it was just like, okay, they didn't have any money, so they just used a lot of black lights and dark sets so that they wouldn't have to show that they were out of money. They did, even though we talked about at the beginning of this, they had budgetary things that they had to deal with for this episode. It's not like they didn't have any money. When you're talking about the 80s, they had a lot of money to work with stuff, and what they had, they were able to do good things with here.
Well, and there's that contrast of the minimalist, outside and the detail and the environment that seems very real on the inside. So there's a lot of things going on here, from the aliens to the story to the set decoration, and I just didn't have enough of an appreciation for it back then, or even just a handful of years ago. One of the things that I like the most is how Picard reacts to reading the book.
It was a dark and stormy night. Oh my God.
Because that's the cliched line, right?
Absolutely.
And he's ready. He's gonna. First of all, I'm amazed that this book is even in the Enterprise computer because it's trash. Let's be honest, it's trash.
Yes.
And then so Picard's like, "All right, let's crack into this. Let's find out. It was a dark and stormy night. Are you kidding?"
And Deanna's like, "I'm out."
Yeah.
I do like during that, it was a different scene than that one, but still in his ready room, and they're listening to the dialogue going on the planet, and he's got this volume button on his desk, and he just is like turning it up and turning it down, and it's like, what did and Deanna's like, did humans really talk like this? And he's like, no, and then she's like, okay, with your permission, bye.
Bye.
Yeah. Oh man, yeah, it's interesting reading, that's for sure.
I love that Worf gets most of the fish out of water lines. The turbo lift seems to be broken. When they discover the hotel room that Colonel Ritchie is in, and they go in, Riker goes over to the bed. Data's standing there with his tricorder, and behind him in frame is Worf trying to figure out bifold closet doors. It's a hilarious moment.
It is. Yeah, it's really good. Then when the phone rings, he kind of picks it up like he's never seen a phone. He's kind of holding it kind of weird. He's like, yes. And then something about room service, and they thought it was for cleaning the room. And he's like, no, and hangs up. And Worf has some of the humor, the most humorous lines in this. And of course, you already said it. That whole perhaps the turbo lifts can take us there. So he's standing there, nothing's happening, and as he's saying they must be malfunctioning, Data's hitting the button. This is great.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Yeah.
It's really amazing to me. I there's so many just subtle things in this episode, and why we didn't see it before, I just don't know.
Oh, I don't either. But I will say one thing, and I'm not saying this to be negative, even though it's going to sound maybe it is a little negative. The episode is slow paced. There's not a lot of action in this episode. Kind of slow paced. It's got that, I don't know if cheesy is the right word, but that kind of synthesizer music as it's going through with the weird scene. And it kind of dates itself, even though seeing it now, it's still good to watch. It was kind of, there were a couple parts that were kind of like, wow, this is an old episode.
Yeah, sort of the synth interpretation of what Vegas music sounds like.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Not a huge satisfier in this episode. And I was wrong. It was actually January of 89 this came
89.
out. So
that's still in the 80s. That's okay.
I was so close.
Yeah.
One of the great guest stars in this episode, aside from Bernard from Lost, is Noble Willingham as Texas. The gambler. And he was on Walker, Texas Ranger for many years. But I mean, his IMDb resume looks like, the greatest of 60s and 70s television. So here are some shows that he's been on: Bonanza, Gunsmoke, wow. The Waltons, Mary Tyler Moore, The Rockford Files, Alice, Dallas, Chips, Dukes of Hazzard, A-Team, LA Law, Home Improvement, Murder, She Wrote,
goodness,
and even an episode of Quantum Leap.
Wow, that's
this dude has been in so much stuff.
He's so funny in this too. I mean, he's the flamboyant Texan in this, the hat and the Texas tie that he's got, and the way that he talks and acts, and I mean, just the time to get down to business. Just business.
Yeah, but I mean, people will probably remember him most as C.D. Parker on Walker, Texas Ranger with Chuck Norris. That's the role that he was on for years. Mm-hmm. So, which came I think after this.
Oh, interesting.
So I mean,
is he still alive?
No, he passed in 2004.
Okay, I was going to say I would have been surprised if he was, because this was a long time ago and he was a little up there in years then.
But he's just fantastic in this episode.
He really is.
And the way he and Spiner interact is just it really, those scenes are just, they're gems. They really are.
They really are. They work well. I'm not sure what I like better, the blackjack scenes or the craps table scenes with the two of them.
Right.
Because they're both awesome. They both have things about it that I like a lot on each one. The cowboy hat with Data at the blackjack. And of course, Data just throwing the dice, not even looking when he's throwing the dice at the end of it. He just throwing them and snapping his fingers. And I just think that's great. And the reaction, of course, from Texas. But I will say, I did feel bad for the guy at the end. He bet it all, and Data knew that he was going to throw a 7 because he fixed the dice, and he did try to say, "I tried to warn you, sir," but he kind of had feel a little bit bad for the guy until Riker says, "Oh no, we're giving everybody money."
I still don't feel bad for him because Data did try to warn him.
He did try to warn him. Yeah.
But maybe that character always loses in the book. We don't know.
Good point. We don't know enough about the book. Maybe we should see if somebody write that yet.
I don't know. Maybe you should write it. You could write poor things. I believe that.
I do every time I do a spot for the fan sets.
I know. That's why we have to go in and fix it all the time. I think the thing I appreciate the most about Riker in this episode is, man, he knows how to throw around some money.
He does.
If you're having a party, you want to invite Will Riker.
You do. Here's some chips for you. Here, give these all to the cocktail waitresses, and here's this and that. He has a whole tray that he gives, and they got 25 point something million dollars, and they only need 12 point something. So he's giving the other 12 million to all the people there. I want to be at the Royale right now.
He knows how to be a big spender.
Yeah, you can make him buy a smaller chair so he doesn't have to do that thing when he sits down. Just saying.
Well, but I mean, that's his thing, though, right?
Oh, that's true.
I mean, come on.
That's true. So one of the things I wanted to bring up, I wanted to get your opinion on it, is, of course, we're in a different era nowadays with television and how things are.
Yep.
Sexism is abound in this episode.
It is.
It really is. I mean, you know, Texas is hitting that girl on the butt, and Worf has a pretty funny reaction. He just kind of looks around. And it's like, what was that all about? And what was it? Mickey D? Is that Mickey? What was the bad guy's name? Was it Mickey D? Mikey D? Something? I don't remember.
I say he was McDonald's. It was Mayor McCheese.
He said that no dame is good enough to die over, to kill over, yeah, but not to die over. Okay.
It was Mickey D, by the way.
Mickey D, okay. I just felt that there was a lot of, I don't know if exploitation is the right word in this episode, but it could be also that, you know, who knows what year this is supposed to be in the Royale. And, you know, we've seen things like that in different eras that have been depicted on Star Trek. And so, you know, maybe it was done that way on purpose. But then again, I think back to what was television like back then, and I'm kind of thinking it was similar.
Well, you know, you have to take a look at kind of when this is set, as far as, you know, the Royale itself. You know, the Flamingo, Las Vegas's oldest resort, opened in 1946. And so I'm going to guess that the Royale is probably set sometime in the early 50s, maybe mid 50s tops. And that's unfortunately the way it was.
Yeah.
I can see why they kept it that way for the book and for making this episode in the 1980s. But looking back on it now, 30 plus years later, it's just, it's not a great look.
It's not a great look at all. Although some of the wardrobe is a great look. The wardrobe that gangster has is pretty cool. And I would like to have that for my Smooth Criminal cosplay when I go to a Michael Jackson party. But that's neither here nor there. I will also say that nobody flinches really when he pulls out his pearl-handled 9mm and kills the busboy. Everybody kind of goes, oh, but then nobody does anything.
Well, but I mean, that's what a lot of the movies are.
Exactly.
You know, you look back at the old gangster movies, you know, when somebody gets shot and killed, you know, there's not this sense of, you know, we got to run away screaming. You know, it's very much that lack of reaction.
Right.
Like, well, yeah, what did you expect? He's a mobster with a gun.
Yep.
It's almost like an acceptance, which is really kind of scary to look back on and weird.
Yep.
Because that's certainly not the way people would react today. That's for sure.
No, not at all. Even the way that the busboy takes his gun and puts it in his belt. Just the way it's like, like, what are you doing? You're going to get yourself in trouble, kid. I like you, kid.
I appreciate how they kind of play on some old Hollywood film stereotypes in depicting the Royale. I appreciate the irony there. I think it works really well in the scope of this episode, but I mean, if this were sort of a standalone thing people were trying to take seriously, it just wouldn't work at all.
Yeah, I agree. One of the things I also found, and I'm curious if you felt this way at all, when I was watching this again the other day, I couldn't help but think of Bada Bing, Bada Boom from Deep Space Nine.
Bada Bing, Bada Bang?
Bada Bing, Bada Bang, Bada Boom, Bada Bing, Bang, Boom. I really couldn't help but think about that.
It's helpful when you know the episode title.
Knowing the episode title and knowing the episode are two very different things.
Especially in your world.
Especially in my world. I'll spell it wrong. I'll say it wrong. But I did think of that. I thought of the casino scenes in that episode a lot when I was rewatching this. I don't know if you did.
I did, but only in the scope of how differently the sets were decorated. You know, because in Bada Bing, Bada Bang, you really get the feel of a 1960s casino. You know, sort of Rat Pack era type vibe. It's the colors are right. The decor is right. This seems like a little even more opulent than even the 50s might have been. Certainly a distinct lack of cigarette smoke in both cases.
Yes. Yep.
In both cases. But the Royale for me doesn't ring as true decoration wise as Bada Bing, Bada Bang.
I'll agree with that. Yep. They, of course, they've had that. Maybe they watched this and knew how they had more money so that they could do it better, bigger and better, because it does seem bigger.
I got the sense they looked at a lot of period photos for Bada Bing, Bada Bang and just created something that looked spot on. For this, it was like, I think they were just trying to create the vibe of a really swanky hotel in the 1950s that just happened to have a casino.
Yeah, gotcha.
Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know.
You're never wrong, Bill.
No, that's not true.
No, that's...
I was wrong plenty, especially when giving the Royale a skip it 5 years ago.
I thought you were going to say when choosing a podcast partner, but...
Your words, not mine.
If you're here in Las Vegas for Creation's 56-year mission convention, be sure to stop by the Science Division Tribble Adoption Center.
You absolutely want to. I mean, if you adopt your Tribble here in Las Vegas this weekend, you'll get a special custom designed gold embossed adopted in Vegas stamp on your adoption certificate. And this is the only time that what happens in Vegas doesn't have to stay in Vegas. And I mean, why should it? Because you'll get this high-quality Star Trek collectible home to your collection as fast as you can. The fur, the sounds, the screaming at people who annoy you like stupid podcast co-hosts like named Dan Davidson.
Wow.
You will love your Science Division Tribble, so be sure and stop by.
Yeah, you're also going to love them because, you know, Tribbles are not dangerous. Tribbles are not dangerous, Bill. You didn't think I was going to say that. All right.
I was hoping.
Subspace Chatter Bill is also telling us that there are a limited number of Tribble pixel art pins left, so be sure to adopt early to ensure that you get one. Science Division. Trouble's never been this fun, and we thank our friends at Science Division for sponsoring this week's episode.
Hi, Dr. Phil Phlox, also known as John Billingsley, speaking. I am the president of the board of the Hollywood Food Coalition. We serve terrific multi-course meals to the unhoused and to those in need 7 nights a week. We assist as many as 100 nonprofits with their food needs, buttressing extraordinary social service programs. We work with community partners to address issues of food insecurity here in SoCal. We do lots of other great stuff, but how much time do we have? If you're in LA, come and volunteer with us at hofoco.org/volunteer, and any Federation credits you can spare go a long way.
So let's do another little thought exercise.
Oh, boy.
So let's say
Ooh, in the same
we
episode.
were recording that See It or Skip It today. What would you give this episode and why?
I would give it a see it because Bernard from Lost is in it. No, I'm just kidding. I would give it a see it this time because it has a very Star Trek vibe to it. It's got mystery, it's got science, and even that whole math equation thing at the beginning really plays into the entire episode. And it just works. Is it slow? Yeah. And I would say I would give it a see it, but there are still some slow parts to it. But I think the humor and the Star Trek story underneath it, I would give it a see it now.
I absolutely would give it a see it too. Largely because it's fun. You know, there are so many other episodes in seasons 1 and 2 that I would skip. And for valid reason.
Right.
But when I think about the fact that, you know, these aliens have really created this thing out of guilt or out of the desire to create an environment for this astronaut for him to live, and then he winds up dying there while it's still going.
Yeah.
There's a lot to think about here, even in just the Star Trek realm. You know, who are they? Why did they do what they did? Why is our crew having to go through this now? Is it just so they can discover the remains of Colonel Ritchie? Who knows? So I think that there's a lot to consider here on top of the fun. And I think that really makes it an interesting episode. So yeah, I have to say that I would give it a see it. Mea culpa, mea maxima culpa.
Yeah, absolutely. Me too. And we talked about it a little bit, but there are a lot of very, very powerful aliens in the Star Trek universe that we've seen over time. Just dozens of them. This is one of them, and it's one that just went away. They could have been a force to be reckoned with. They could have been really helpful, or now because of what happened with this one incident with running into humans for the first time, they decide to become xenophobes, and we never hear from them again. And I think that in itself, to think about, makes it another interesting part of the story.
I definitely agree. I think if there's only one thing I would change about this episode is I would have sent Geordi down to the planet with Data and Worf. Because I think there could have been some additional fun scenes or some good dialogue between Data and Geordi. Or maybe something Geordi discovers that we don't necessarily know about in the episode.
Right.
I think that could have led to some interesting developments on top of all this. But as the episode is, it's just every time I watch it, I just have fun now. And that's the thing I enjoy.
I got to agree with you on that. I actually think it was kind of not a waste isn't the right word, but it was kind of a waste to have LeVar and Will basically their entire scenes for the whole episode was to sit at those stations and push buttons.
Yeah.
And it's, kind of waste for both of them. But I do like your idea. Geez, it would have been really cool to see what he could have seen with his visor and his engineering / general knowledge. It would have been cool to see.
Honestly, I think that, everybody on the Enterprise is criminally underused in this episode. Even the captain himself, although he gets most of the dialogue, but Troy is dangerously underused. So is Dr. Pulaski. Wesley is used about as much as Wesley is, right. Which,
I gotta say, I agree with you. I think that Deanna is the Deanna season 1 stereotype is very heavy in this episode, where she's just sitting in her chair, sensing things. I sense he's tense. I sense he's having a good time. I sense it. And thankfully they got away from that fairly quickly. I was actually a little surprised that it showed up when it did here in season 2. It's episode 12, I think. So we're a good, almost halfway through the season, and it still shows up where basically she's just sitting there saying she senses things. It was an underused moment for her character as well.
Yeah, I mean, and those failings aside, it doesn't make the episode, terrible to watch.
It's fun.
There are things that we would have wished to see differently, but all in all, I'm still going to watch this episode to have fun before I go to Vegas.
and you know what? And I'm serious when I say this, man. If I'm flipping through the stations, and if we ever get H&I down here, if I'm watching H&I, and this episode comes on my TV, I'm going to stop and watch the rest of it. Because it's fun. You like to have the episodes that are fun, and this is one of them.
You realize you could just dial it up on Plex anytime.
It's always more interesting to see it showing up on a station, but we got rid of cable, so that's going to be really kind of hard for me to do now that I think of it.
A little bit.
That's all right. I'll pull it up on Plex, I guess.
Yeah, like I said. Yeah.
See, right again.
I'm so glad you listened to me. Well, Dan, I think that, in the years past, we've always tried to pick an episode that kind of kicks off our Vegas week, and here we are in Vegas. We're excited to have talked about the Royale. I'm glad that we finally got a chance to do this. But you know what? I'm glad that we're doing this now and not when we originally wanted to, because I think that this was a very different episode than the one we would have done 2 years ago.
Oh, I absolutely agree. Like I said at the beginning, I look at this with different eyes now because I'm older, but because of what we've gone through in the last few years with COVID. And I think it gives me a better appreciation for sitting down and watching episodes like this to talk about for the show. So I agree. It would have been different. I might have even given it a skip at 2 years ago or 3 years ago, or however long it was. I don't know, because there has been so many different things that have happened over the course of that time. So.
Yeah, here we have it. So, Dan, that's how we're getting our Vegas week started. We're here for the rest of the weekend. We got our panel on Thursday on the Roddenberry stage at 5:15 p.m. See it or skip it. I'm sorry, not see it or skip it. Stump the Geek Live. I got see it or skip it on the brain.
That's good. It's a good reason though.
Stump the Geek Live, where a whole bunch of people are going to win some fantastic prizes.
A fantastic
Excited
prizes.
about that?
Oh my gosh, yes. Can't wait for that.
We got Fan Geeks Party 2022 on Friday night at Tommy Rockers. Pow. Saturday, we're recovering.
I'll be all purple. Looking forward to that as well.
Yeah, and then awesome. Sunday we're gonna bring it up. Of course, all weekend we'll be in the vendors hall with the great Bonnie Gordon from Star Trek Prodigy appearing at our booth all weekend long. So what such a fabulous human.
Let me say, if any of you are tired, it's been a long week and you've done a lot of walking and you need some energy, come by our booth and talk to Bonnie, because I guarantee you will be full of energy by the time you leave, because that woman has more energy than she knows what to do with, and I guarantee you're going to get some back from her.
Hey, it's all about making it through the Vegas weekend the best you can.
That's right.
And of course, Dan, people that we're going to miss in Vegas this weekend, of course, the band 5-Year Mission.
So bummed.
I know. Every year they're in Vegas, it's just such a special show because they are a fantastic house band. But we're going to do our best to soldier on without them this year. But in the meantime, they may not be here in Vegas, but that doesn't mean you can't go out to 5yearmission.net, get all their CDs, get them sent straight to your door, become a huge fan of the band because you hear their music here on Trek Geeks all the time. And we guarantee it's going to be stuff you listen to over and over and over again. Like Dan, you're going to be sitting in your car rocking out to year 2 or year 3 or year 1 or Trouble with Tribbles or Spock's Brain. That's what he does.
I do.
So 5yearmission.net, get all their albums.
And now I do it with a FARC shirt on, which is even better.
Yeah, you do.
I do. So go to shop.trekgeeks.com and get a Farkism shirt because they're there. They're available for you to wear. I'm wearing one probably tomorrow. I think I'm going to wear it in the vendor's hall, my friend. They're just fantastic. Can't say enough about 5 Year Mission. But speaking of fantastic, Bill, fantastic mid-season finale to talk about from Star Trek Prodigy. I'm going to talk about it right now. It was fantastic. Fantastic animation, as always. Fantastic story. And a few fantastic surprises. But the best was learning that the Diviner was actually from the future and was trying to prevent 5 Year Mission from ever making first contact with his people, which set forth a civil war on his planet as to who were the best musicians in the galaxy. Then Zero unveils his true form to the Diviner, rendering him mad, just like my illustrious podcast co-host. So check it out. It's the mid-season finale to Star Trek Prodigy, A Moral Fark, Part 2. Dun, dun, dun.
So wait a minute.
Oh, God, here we go.
I'm mad?
And Patreons will want to go to...
No. No.
Maybe I should say insane.
I'm insane?
Oh, she picked me, didn't you?
Wow.
See?
So you're admitting you suck. This is amazing.
You open up the dictionary and there's a picture of me.
So, a moral fark.
Yeah.
I just,
Sometimes
I'm going down to the bar because there's just not enough alcohol in this room to deal with.
Flow right out of me.
That crappy farkism. Because that was terrible.
Wow. That hurts.
That's one of the worst ones you've ever done.
Beg to differ. Ugh.
Yeah, you don't have to beg. You can just differ because
maybe I
you're
should
wrong.
read it to John Noble at the when I go and say hi to him and see what he thinks.
I think he might call security.
Wow.
He's going to wonder, what the hell are you talking about? And he won't be wrong.
He'll understand.
No, he
He's
won't.
Smart. He makes things go.
Oh, shut up. 5yearmission.net. Please, if you're here in Vegas, suggest your best Farkism to Dan. I'm sure it's going to be light years better than this crap.
Wow.
Don't forget, of course, you too can support the Trek Geeks Podcast Network by subscribing to us on Patreon. Dan, so many great patrons that we have that we have great interactions with and who they are responsible for all the growth that you've seen in the Trek Geeks Podcast Network since we started it. They're the ones who make this all possible, and we're so grateful to them every single week.
Every single week, every single day. We love having their support. We love having their friendship, and being able to get together with some here in Vegas means all the world to me, and I know it does to you too, buddy. Right now, we want to take a moment to thank our associate producers for Trek Geeks, because as we just said, we are so grateful for their support. So thank you so much, Vikram Bhatt, Brad DeMag, William Edward M. Jr., Patrick Escudero, Andy Fark, Kimberly Francis, Jonathan Hamilton, Peter Hong, William Jackson, Ryan Jeffs, John Krikorian, Sean Lynn, Rick Mason, Jamie McGregor, Ross McKinney, Jim McMahon, Aaron Mollenkoff, Casey Pettit, Helen Reed, Sarah Rutlinger, Tim Robertson, Desi Rogers, Greg Rozier. I don't know where that came from because I never messed that one up. Eric Sakian.
You really don't.
Adam Sanders, Tim Serdar, Heather Sohn, Blake Strike, Rick Tatro, Lisa Tomlinson, Ron Robel, and ladies and gentlemen, I must say, the gracious and wonderful Connie Hutchins.
Who is here in Vegas.
Right here in Vegas with us.
Or will be.
I don't know when she gets here, but I'm looking forward to it.
Absolutely. Of course, we want to thank our Trek Geeks producers for their support. They are Mike Bovia, Steve Bovia, Chaz Bradshaw, Kyle Castillo, Peter Craig, Andy Davenport, Greg Ewing, Jackie and Chris Hackney, Kimberly Hartman, who I'm sure is here in Vegas somewhere, David Hood, Lionel Marchand, Matt McGonigal, Darren Metcalf, Charlie Mulvey, Sean O'Halloran, who's here in Vegas, Jamie Rogers, who's here in Vegas, Major Self, Casey Shafsky, who's on his way to Vegas, Terry Shull, Jim Stoffel, who's here in Vegas, Chris Trebuzio, who's here in Vegas, Ken Tripp, Christina Werther, who's late to Vegas, and the lovely and talented Jess Vashon. Dan, the senior producer of Trek Geeks, it's gone. Because I had a great line for Jude, and it's gone. It got erased somehow.
I don't know if I was responsible for it, but any great word.
I'm pretty sure you were
for Jude. So think of something quick. Come on.
He's the frequently fantastic and awesomely awesome Jude Tatman,
there you go.
Senior producer of the Trek Geeks podcast.
That's fantastic. He really is. It's always great to. I got another email from him just the other day, buddy. Did you? No, I didn't think so. You too can become a producer on the Trek Geeks Podcast Network. It is so easy to do. Head on over to patreon.com/Trek Geeks for all the details.
Dan, next week we're not going to be here because you're a jerk. And we'll be recuperating for what I'm sure is going to be a very memorable trip to the desert. But in 2 weeks, we get to tell everyone about it.
Oh, we sure do, man. In 2 weeks, we're going to be back to give an in-depth recap of all the events of the 56-year mission here out in sunny Las Vegas. Stump the Geek Live, cosplay, the Fan Geeks Party, panels, hijinks, jail cells, and so much more. It's the Vegas recap, and it's in 2 weeks' time on Trek Geeks, the flagship of the Trek Geeks Podcast Network.
Well, you better hope I bring bail money then. Of course, for more great Star Trek discussion, please check out the other member podcasts, the Trek Geeks Podcast Network. So many shows, all done by fans who just want to celebrate Star Trek and Gene's vision, and they are all just truly so passionate about it. You can find all our podcasts in the free Trek Geeks mobile app or get a link to download on your favorite podcast player by visiting trekgeeks.com/listen.
The Trek Geeks Podcast Network. No one talks Trek like we do.
No one does. And of course, for all the news on all the Star Trek CO, please visit our great friends at treknews.net. For now, this has been the pre-Vegas episode of the Trek Geeks Podcast, number 289. We do hope you all live long and prosper.
We call this planet Earth. What do you call it?
Coconut.
How charming.
No, we don't call it that. It's planet EO11.
Music for Trek Geeks is provided by 5 Year Mission. They're writing an original song for each episode of Star Trek. Hear more of their music at 5yearmission.net. Trek Geeks is a production of Coconut Media Works. Executive producers Bill Smith and Dan Davidson. For more great Star Trek discussion, discover the other shows of the Trek Geeks Podcast Network at trekgeeks.com or find us in Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or your favorite podcast app.
EO, EO, bing bongo.
Bing bong 11. Bing bong 11.
Bing bong 11. Although it's more like 23rd.
Yeah, true. That's okay.
Welcome to Vegas.
Oh my God. Did we ever think it was going to happen again?
No.
It's happening.
I can assure you we did not.
It's happening. It's happening right now. And it's so exciting.
I've had a lot of emotions this week about coming back to this convention. I mean, because we've said for a long time, we feel like even though neither of us is from Las Vegas, this is kind of like our home convention.
Yes.
Because of the people that we see every time we go and the relationships we have and the fun we have. And to think that we haven't had that now in 3 years is kind of mind blowing. It's a little scary.
I'm not scared. I'm too excited to be scared because it's just, oh my gosh, I just can't wait for all the things that we have planned and all the people we're going to see and are seeing. It's just going to be, oh God, it's just such a great feling.
I'm just glad you're wearing pants.
Having to look at your face all the time is, you get to the point where you just can't do it anymore. So I'm finally glad that I'm going to be able to see some other beautiful people. So yes, I was kind of complimenting you at the same time I was dissing you. So you're welcome.
That's wow. You're getting way too complex than I can handle. I think it's the jet lag.
It's the jet lag, and I've been reading. So yeah.
Wait. You read
pop-up books?
Oh, okay.
Yes.
That makes more sense.
It does. That's all right. So, yeah.
You're gonna have your face slathered in makeup pretty soon.
A lot of makeup. Yeah. 2 days worth of makeup.
It's not gonna make you look any better.
No.
Let's just get that.
Well,
out of the
actually,
way.
it will, because it'll be covering up some of me. Because I've
Not enough.
Not enough, because I'll have my eyebrows covered up for both days, so that's part of me gone. And on Saturday, I'll have my chin covered with a prosthetic, so that'll be gone. So yeah, I'm pretty excited. I got the baldness going. I got the galt colors in the beard all going. So I'm ready to go, man. It's going to be fantastic, but it's going to be early. I got the makeup woman's going to be at our room on Friday at 8:30, so you're welcome. But then I have to be on Saturday morning. I have to be ready at somebody else's room for the makeup at 6:30. So
we have to be at the dealer's room to set up at 9 a.m. So, I mean...
Well, you've got somebody to help you, because
to...
I'm not going to be there.
No, but I mean, you don't have to apologize to me because I'll already be awake. Yes. It's the 6:30 morning where I'm going to kill you.
I'm going to be as quiet as possible. I'm going to get up. I'm going to go into the bathroom, get ready, and leave without saying anything. I don't want to bother you. I want you to sleep.
God, that would be so amazing if you said nothing.
I might put
like the whole weekend.
I might put a pillow over your head and suffocate you, but other than that, I won't say anything. The only thing I'll say is go to the light. That's all I'll say.
What a jerk.
Yep. So
what a jerk.
And I got some of those waffle protein things, the little
like Stroopwafels,
so that I can have something to eat while I'm in the chair or something like that, because I won't be eating much those mornings, because I'll be in the makeup chair and getting ready to go. So
you could actually go get breakfast before you get in the chair.
I don't know. It all depends, because the night before is the Fan Geeks party, and I'm expecting to be pretty up late and excited. So I don't know how much sleep I'm going to get. So
you just stay up?
I can't do that, because then I'd have to deal with you the whole time, and then I just want to go to sleep forever.
This is what you do. You always try to turn it back on me when really this is all about you.
It's not about. It's nothing. It's never about me. I'm here for everyone else's benefit.
You can't do it because you don't want to stay up all night.
I don't,
because
I'm old. You can't handle it.
Because you're a big stick in the mud.
All right. Who was the one who went to bed early that one time when we were at the iBar because you were so tired?
No, it wasn't because I was tired. I was drunk.
Drunk.
I put myself to
same thing.
No. Here's what happened. So we went to Topgolf that night. It was 115 degrees Fahrenheit.
That's true.
I was drinking Long Island iced teas all evening long. We got back to the Rio. I continued to drink Long Island iced teas, and then all of a sudden at about 11:30 one night, it hit me that I was done.
Go to bed.
I put myself to bed. I'm the most responsible inebriated person you're ever going to meet, because all I want to do is just go to bed.
I will say that I agree with that. I'm the same way. Once I hit a certain point, my body's like, nope, you're done. Don't do any more. And yes,
that's also the last time I was overserved.
Allegedly.
No,
all right, because you usually put allegedly after that all the time. So
no, I mean I'm declaring that as a fact.
Right.
It's really the only time in Vegas that I've been that gone. I'm not necessarily proud of it, but it happened.
You were funner than you've ever been before.
It's because I left and went to bed early.
Well, it will be my mission at the 56th year mission to get you in a similar state, but not too bad, because we're gonna have fun.
Yeah, so don't tell me I'm a stick in the mud, because I had fun.
I never said stick
and then
in the
I
mud.
went to bed.
You said stick in the mud. I never said that.
No, you just agreed with it.
It doesn't matter. I didn't say it. Use your words carefully, son.
Oh, you're going to school me on choosing words?
Yes, I am. Whenever I get the chance, I might as well take advantage of it.
Just because you shoot Jesse James doesn't make you Jesse James.
Who's that? I don't even know anybody named Jesse.
Do you know that quote?
No.
Mike Ehrmantraut says it in Breaking Bad.
Oh, yeah. Oh, God, he's so good. He's so good. Yes, I have to remember it. Yeah, I have to rewatch that again. I do remember it now that you said I can hear that distinct voice of his. Was that before or after he shot the top of his ear off?
No comment for people who haven't seen it.
Breaking Bad's old. People who haven't seen it, sorry, spoilers.
I don't want to spoil Breaking Bad for anybody if they haven't seen it. Well, because it's that good. It is
the best written television show in history. Period. Full stop. End of sentence.
It's the closest thing to a perfect series I've ever seen.
And I'll tell you what, Better Call Saul is right up there too.
It is.
It's really good.
Although you haven't seen the last season.
I have not seen the last season. I'm looking forward to seeing it. I've been able to stay away from spoilers too, which is good.
I have, so suck it.
So I will give you some good news, because I know you're always looking for good news from me. I finished season 3 of The Office.
Yay!
Yes, and oh my god, I was dying laughing at some of the scenes in the season 3 finale. It was really good. I'm enjoying it very much.
So you're into season 4.
Yes.
So you've seen Fun Run.
Not yet, even though that's the first episode. I'm into it, but I've only watched like the first 10 seconds.
Okay.
Yes. But yes, I'm looking forward to it very much. I literally almost peed my pants when Dwight Schrute was in the office thinking he was the new manager, and he's sitting there chewing Big League Chew bubble gum, and then he spits into a cup like it's real chew. I almost lost it because it's so subtle. It's like they don't even focus on it. Oh my god, it was so good.
And then he paints the office black to intimidate his subordinates.
Oh my god. Oh god, it's so good. I've also decided that in addition to watching The Office and getting everything caught up on that, I'm going to start a rewatch of Sons of Anarchy. To give my homage and my bowing up and down to Mr. Ron Perlman, who I will be meeting this weekend.
Right.
So,
who will be there this weekend?
Yeah, so I figured why not? It's a good show. I like Clay Morrow, and I'm excited to meet him on Saturday. So
it's a shame you didn't go as the Romulan Viceroy this year.
yeah, well then nobody.
Riemann Viceroy. My bad.
I've never been a big fan of that makeup, to be honest with you. I mean, I'm sure he would have dug it, but yeah.
Dude, do you know how much of that face of your face that stuff would block? It would be amazing.
It would be amazing for everybody else, but it wouldn't be in my heart.
Cosplay is always for everybody else, Dan.
You have to enjoy what you're putting on.
All right, you ready to hit the slot machines?
Oh, God, let me get my quarters and my nickels.
You can actually use a card now.
Oh. Well, that's an extra 15 pounds I didn't need in my luggage.
Just please don't put them inside a pair of socks and beat me over the head with it.
Oh, see, it's your fault for giving me ideas like this, so sorry.
I know. All right, shut up. Let's do this.
Coconut.